here, kind of step by step. But Pro Football Focus does this every year, okay? They rank the 101 best players from the NFL season. Why is it 101 and not 100? Not sure. I'm not sure.
101.
Did you pay attention to this stuff specifically with Pro Football Focus when you were playing?
No, not Pro Football Focus. Not Pro Football Focus now. It's like, hey, ESPN Top 100 or the top 100 list that comes out with
from
the
players. Yeah.
Like, I would tune into that. Now, I never thought I would be on the list, truly, even after having a good year, because the players are picking it. And I'm young. I was a baby. Not a lot of people knew about me.
Sure.
I wasn't at the cool man's table. I was like Jokic.
Yes. Yes. Well, Jokic is kind of his
It's different now.
It is different. I think the rest of the league has warmed up to him, and simultaneously he has warmed up to the superstar that he is, and just acknowledging his own status, I think.
And that's why he should be the face of the NBA, Zach. You had that conversation.
I gave that more thought.
All right.
I gave that more thought. We got to circle back to that because I think that I think it's way more realistic than I was thinking of 2 days ago when we had the conversation. So
see, that's why you talk things out with me, because all of a sudden things are just, they seem clearer in your head now. So you better thank me for that. All right.
I'm probably going to thank Charles Barkley and David Stern, but you may be on the thank you list.
On the short list
later in the show. Yes, yes. So you didn't put a ton of stock when you were playing into Pro Football Focus.
No, not really, man, not really. But it would be great. It'd be an honor to be put on the list.
Yeah.
So hopefully all our Denver Bronco players that deserve to be on the list are on the list.
Well, the list came out, and I take a peek at this every year, and there's been years doing this job, Phil, in these lean years where the Broncos might have had a player. All right? That's not the case this time around. When you win 10 games and you're in the playoffs, you're going to get a couple bouquets, okay? So Garrett Bolles was the first person to pop up on this list. PFF's top 101 players from this past season. He comes in at number 85. And what they said was, quote, Bolles has been the model of consistency across his NFL tenure, to which he parlayed another great year in 2024 into a 4-year, $82 million extension. The veteran tackle continues to elevate his game as a pass blocker, having generated an 89 grade this season, 4th highest at the left tackle position, while surrendering the 6th lowest pressure rate, just 3% of the time.
The GB zone.
The GB zone.
Nobody messes with old GB. And that's great for him because Garrett Bolles is a great player, a great left tackle. And it's hard to find those great left tackles that are athletic and love the game. See, this is the difference between Garrett Bolles and a lot of these other players, a lot of these other, let's say, left tackles. Garrett Bolles has been paid multiple times, not just 1 year, not just for 2 years. He's been played, this is his third contract? His third contract, but yet he still goes at the game like he has something to prove. Every time, and you guys know that's my boy, every time I talk to Garrett Bolles, by the way, he should be coming on soon. I've been trying to.
Are we going to have him in here?
Yes, he's going to come on.
That'd be great, man.
He keeps traveling. He's going back and forth, but every time he gets back here, he's asking, hey, when do you want me on? And
where does he live? Does he live in Utah?
Cali.
Oh, Cali,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so Cali, he works out in Cali. He'll go to Utah sometimes, and then, of course, home base is here. So we're going to get him in here. I
That'd
just have to find a way to just wrap him up.
Yeah.
Bear tackle him. Big boy, though.
Seriously, that would be great, yes. having Bolles in here, because you hear Bolles do a press conference from time to time, but to have him in this setting, I think would be very different. I think our listeners would hear a new side.
It's going to be a little uncomfortable for OGB because he doesn't really do it. But for him, I said, dude, people need to know your personality. People need to know a little bit more about you because you're a guy that loves this game, but you love your teammates and you care for us so much. I'm out of the league, but you call me every other week just to check in on me. That's how good of a dude you are. So I want everybody else to be able to see who OGB is.
That is so cool. I love that. And that last part that you just shared, that he still checks in on you.
Yes.
I love hearing stuff like that. So good for Garrett Bolles. He comes in at number 85 on this list of Pro Football Focus, ranking the 101 best players from this past season. And I'll say this too, man. It's he truly wants to be here.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna say this, and this is I don't I don't want this to come across the wrong way, and I know it's going to, but I'm going to say it anyway.
All right, get my belt out. What are you going to say?
Garrett Bolles is the anti. Oh man,
We talking about Jokic or Garrett Bolles?
No.
Or the Denver Nuggets with the anti.
No, because I love this guy when he was here, but Bolles is sort of the anti-Miko, the anti-Miko Rantanen.
So you just don't like Miko?
No, I loved Miko's time here, but Miko wanted every last dollar out of the Colorado Avalanche.
Every last drop.
They said, we will make you the highest paid player at your position in the league, and they were still millions apart. And you didn't want to be here in this situation? When is enough enough? And Bolles genuinely wants to be here. And when you're a left tackle in that premium position and you come in on lists like this and you signed that year, there is how much more money could Bolles got in free agency?
Yeah,
my guess is a lot.
Exactly, he could have. And my guess is he'll talk about. He said it before, where it's like, hey, I wanted to be here. He could have hit the market, tested it out, but he wanted to be here. He was drafted by the Denver Broncos. He has a lot of history here, a lot of good history, a lot of bad history. We're talking about a guy that everybody hated.
Right.
They used to boo him.
Right.
It was pretty crazy being on that football field. It's a home game. You're in the huddle. Your fans are booing. You barely get here to play, and you're like, who are they booing? And then all of a sudden you look up, and it's, there's a flag there, and everybody knows once the holding call comes out, it's Garrett.
Yeah.
Now the referees leave him alone, and my man still holds sometimes.
He
and
does.
We talk about it.
He does. And look, offensive linemen are going to hold. Laramie Tunsil is one of the most penalized offensive tackles in football, but he's still one of the best. And you can accept a wide receiver dropping the ball every once in a while when he's producing for you Sunday in and Sunday out. That's the offensive lineman version of Garrett Bolles. And it's interesting to hear Pro Football Focus say, this guy's been a model of consistency across his NFL tenure. Because that hasn't been the story here in the town that he plays. And he's gotten so much better. One of the best redemption stories in recent Denver sports history. So good for Garrett Bolles coming in on this list. Pro Football Focus ranking the top 101 players from this past season. You move down the list, and I'm going to be real. I was not anticipating to see the name Brandon Jones coming in the top 75.
Brandon Jones.
This is what they said. Quote, Jones' first season in Denver could not have gone any better. He finished third among qualified safeties with a 90 coverage grade while reeling in 3 interceptions. He also broke up 6 passes and allowed just 9 yards per reception into his coverage, both top 12 marks in the NFL, end quote. I knew he had a good season.
Yeah.
You put the numbers with it, and on a list like this, man, it really shines some light on him.
And you know what's so big time about that is we cut ties with Justin Simmons, another Denver Bronco that has been here for a very long time. Some people were not okay with that. You bring in Brandon Jones, you don't have to pay him as much. So, it was great for me to be able to be with Brandon Jones, Zach, because he was my teammate in Miami. He was a little younger. But the thing about Brandon is, when it was time to play football, he was very serious. When it was time to play football, he was very smart. And he was not afraid to make a tackle. Brandon Jones has 79 tackles this year, 79 solo tackles. You're talking about a safety that's putting up in the box going against 300-pound offensive linemen and 215, 220-pound running backs. But he's making tackles with no help. Brandon Jones was a great, great pickup for the Denver Broncos, and he's only going to get better. So not only can my man cover, and he had 3 interceptions this year, but he's making tackles. He's coming up like a heat-seeking missile and making tackles. That just helps the defense out, and that's why the defense was top 5 this year, because you had players like Brandon Jones, who you didn't have to pay a lot of money for, but you're getting a lot of productivity out of him. He was very productive this year.
Did you expect to see him on a list like this?
Honestly, no. But he had a quiet, great year.
Yeah.
For a safety.
Yeah. All right, good for Brandon Jones coming in at number 72 on Pro Football Focus, counting down the top 101 players from this past NFL season. Then you get to Quinn Miners.
Big Q.
Quinn Miners came in inside the top 40. Miners came in at number 37. What a hit of a draft pick out of Division III Wisconsin Whitewater. Here's what Pro Football Focus said. Quote, Miners' steady progression as an interior blocker continues to elevate his profile across the league. After a career year in 2024, it won't be too long before he becomes a household name, at least in homes that appreciate O-line play. The 26-year-old guard made significant strides in pass protection, earning a career-best 81 PFF grade. His 99 pass blocking efficiency rating tied the second highest among all qualified linemen this past season, end quote.
Man, oh man. Big Q. A guy that's like, okay, he had the talent, but he's putting it all together. All pro this year, Zach. All pro this year. Had a chance to go to the Pro Bowl. He turned it down because he wasn't a first. How would you call it? I don't want to keep calling it first ballot.
Yeah, like
Pro Bowl, like
just,
not an alternate.
Yeah, he didn't want to be an alternate. He was not on the initial Pro Bowl roster.
Yes, he felt like he was disrespected because it's like, how can I make the All Pro but not be a Pro Bowler? Which we all know he should have been a Pro Bowler, and he's only going to get better. We have him tied here for another 3-4 years, just like Garrett Bolles.
Yep.
This is great for Bo Nix. This is great for Broncos country. It's great for us because now we're going to have success at the offensive side of the football, which is fun. It's fun to come in here and talk about the touchdowns we're scoring.
Yeah, just 26 years old, doesn't turn 27 until November, so near the middle of the football season.
Only white guy with dreads. I like that.
What about Wolf?
Wolf too.
Derek Wolf has some dreads too.
Yeah, Wolf did have some dreads, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Love Quinn Miners, and he does have, much like you did, and it's a silly like sidebar thing or a footnote thing, but when you have a look to you, it's so identifiable. Like your hair was so identifiable with you, you weren't going to make a mistake whether that was Phillip Lindsay or not.
I just thought it was because I look mean.
No.
You guys didn't want to get it wrong.
No. It was the hair and nothing but the hair. And with Miners, he's got that unique look, man.
He got the Bob Marley dreads going on.
He does, man. He does. So good for Quinn Miners coming in at number 37 in Pro Football Focus top 101 players ranked in order from the 2024 season. And then you get to maybe a little bit of controversy.
Uh-oh.
And I would say it is a little bit controversial. Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain was not inside the top 10.
Huh?
Pat Surtain came in at number 12 with another defender in front of him at number 11, by the way. This is the Defensive Player of the Year.
You might have to say that again. This was the Defensive Player of the Year, and he's number 12?
And what's crazy is, yes, he's number 12, and what's crazy is for many years now, I have said that people like Pat Surtain, in a way that Darrelle Revis didn't have the advantage of 15 years ago, Pat Surtain is in an analytics era where it's not raw numbers that tells his story. It's people like Pro Football Focus that can give his coverage grade and that can go game by game and say, yeah, you know, he didn't make the stat sheet, but here was his value to the game as a shutdown corner. And luckily for him, he's in that era because I don't think PS2 wins Defensive Player of the Year 20 years ago without the raw interception numbers.
No.
That's why it almost like caught me off guard that an outlet like Pro Football Focus would have him outside of the top 10 and they're at number 12 with multiple defenders in front of them.
I don't get it. Pat Surtain was locked down. He locked down every receiver. Every receiver. There's not one receiver that went for 100 yards on him.
Nope.
And when you needed Pat Surtain to make a play, he picks the ball off for a 100-yard touchdown that changed the game around. And I know PFF is not just looking at the games. They're looking at stats as well. Well, as a cornerback, you don't want stats put on you. The only stats you want is PBUs, which means pass breakups, guys, and interceptions. Other than that, you don't want any other stats put on you. And that's why Pat Surtain won Defensive Player of the Year. And so for him to come in at 12, that's a slap in the face. He should at least be top 5 for this year. That's bullcrap, Zach.
Well, here was their explanation, okay? Quote, the NFL's newest Defensive Player of the Year led all cornerbacks with an 85 coverage grade while remarkably not missing a single tackle all year long. He and Cooper DeJean were the only cornerbacks to earn at least an 80 grade in both run defense and coverage. They finished by saying, Surtain also recorded 4 interceptions and 5 pass breakups, and he allowed just 2 touchdowns in coverage all year, end quote.
That to me might put him down as like number 1 or 2 on this list. Like literally locked down. He one-sides you, and that's why Riley Moss got better, because now Riley Moss is getting the reps because everybody wants to throw his way. So for him to not to be in at least the top 5, and that's being generous, I would be like number 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? This is where it's like, okay, guys, like human beings are involved in this, and there's some bias towards whoever's going to be in 11th, the 10th, and down from there.
Yeah. Well, PS2 coming in at number 12. You know this drives him nuts.
It should. But I don't know how much more like motivation he needs. He won Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
He's every year he's a All-Pro or Pro Bowler. So that's just who he is. At some point, that is just who he is. And hopefully he can continue to grow in certain aspects of his game that I know he wants to work on, like any of us would. But it's come on, guys. Like this is a little ignorant that you don't have him in the top 5.
Yeah, not in the top 10.
Not in the top 10. You're right.
Yeah, he got jobbed here. I don't like it. The defenders that were in front of him, it was Zach Bye from Philly, a linebacker who came in at number 11.
He could be a Denver Bronco if he wants.
Maybe. It was T.J. Watt was ranked ahead of Pat Surtain. It was Chris Jones ranked ahead of Pat Surtain. And it was Myles Garrett ranked ahead of Pat Surtain. So between Bond, Watt, Jones, and Garrett, the Defensive Player of the Year had 4 defensive players in front of him. So, all right, who else should have made this list that didn't?
Ooh, who else should have made
and just to reset for our listeners, if you're just joining us, Pro Football Focus ranked the 101 best players from the NFL season. Garrett Bolles came in at number 85. Brandon Jones came in at number 72. Quinn Miners came in at number 37. And Pat Surtain came in at number 12. Who belongs on this list that was not on it?
I know what you want to say. You want to go with our boy Bo? Our boy Bo? Let's Bo?
Honestly, that was not the first name that came to mind.
No?
You cannot tell me
Uh-oh.
that Zach Allen wasn't one of the best 101 players in the NFL this year. I'm sorry.
I'm disrespecting him right now. I'm disrespecting him right now because I didn't bring his name up, and you are right. Zach Allen was a force this year. Literally, it was hard to stop that man. They had to double and triple team him. And maybe he would have made this list if he would have got a Pro Bowl, because remember, he got snubbed from that as well.
Yep.
And so maybe that has something to do with it. I agree with you. Zach Allen, he doesn't get a lot of respect right now. And so he's going to have to do it again next year. If he can do it again next year, people are going to be talking about Zach Allen as one of the elite defensive tackles in this league that can anchor and stop the run, but also go out there and get sacks.
Yeah.
So you're right. You're right. Zach Allen should have made this list at least. I don't know. We want to go like,
but you can put
90?
him at, you can put him at a 101. You could put him at the last guy on the list. You can't tell me he was not a top 101 player. And here's the thing, dude. What about Nick Bonito? What about Nick Bonito? I mean, Nick Bonito was 3rd in the NFL in sacks.
Do you think that's because they're young? Do you think it's because of the youth? Because they're young and it's their first time doing it? Because the only reason why I believe that Pat Surtain sitting there at 12 and T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett are sitting in front of him is because they've done it for a very long time. And it's biased. And it's like, out of respect, we're going to keep Chris Jones right there in the top 10. Myles Garrett in the top 10. They did some good stuff, but they were not better this year than Pat Surtain at doing their job.
This reminds me of NFL.com's list of ranking the quarterbacks and having Bo Nix at 20. If you're going to do it based off 2024, then base it off 2024. This is not a lifetime achievement thing. If it was, Mahomes should be number 1. But you put him at number 7 based on 2024. But if you're going to do that, how do you have 19 quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, in 8 games played ahead of Bo Nix on that?
That's a joke.
And if you missed that conversation, you can hit it up on the Drive podcast, denversports.com, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. And guys, we're a radio show, but about 25 minutes after Dante Gomez behind the glass, he slaps that thing up online. We're living way beyond our show's 4-hour life cycle here during the week. But again, the third leading sack artist in the NFL didn't make Pro Football Focus top 101 players of the season, where he had fumbles returned for touchdowns, a pick six for a touchdown.
Yes. You're talking about a pass rusher. Now, this is Pro Football Focus's top 101.
Yeah.
Right, which is funny to say. Do you think it's going to be different when the NFL top 100 comes out, though? Does Nick Bonito make the list? We know Pat Surtain's going to be on the list, and he might be closer to number 5, number 3.
Yes, he'll be higher on that list. Yeah. Benito will make the list of the player voted top 100. I think.
You can put that in your contract, where if you make the top 100, you get a bonus, like $200,000 bonus.
Voted on by the players, that one?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Pro Bowls, top one, anything that has to do with the media and being put out there, you can put in your contract.
Interesting. No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, man. Make a little bit more money. I remember Jonathan Taylor doing that, and I think he cracked like the top 15 or something. Jonathan Taylor, running back, he got like a $300,000 bonus because of it.
From the NFL Network's top 100.
Yes.
Really interesting. I know. I have never heard of that.
That's why they go. It's important to do things like that.
Interesting.
Put in your
yeah, that is outside the box.
Contract.
That is outside the box. I'm just going to ask the question: Should we be paying attention to the fact that Nick Bonito was not on the top 101 players from Pro Football Focus, and that maybe his, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, because I think he should have been on. But do you think they look at the way that Nick Bonito got it done this year as splash and not more substance on a down-to-down basis?
Yeah, I believe like what they're saying is Nick Bonito needs to do it again. He needs to prove that he can do this consistently and have that consistency to just continue to do it every single year. And he's young, and that's just a build-up. And so, yes, Zach, I believe that they're looking at it as a splash and not as that's who you are every single year.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to prove to the world that was not a fluke.
Anybody else on the Broncos that should have made this list? Zach Allen, Nick Bonito are candidates?
Yeah, those two are candidates. People may say Bo Nix, but I don't believe Bo is there just yet. He had a great year, a great story. But just like Nick Bonito, and if Nick Bonito's not on the list, Bo Nix shouldn't be on the list. It's about proving that next year that you belong on this top 101 list.
All right. You guys want to react to that conversation? All right. Whether it's a comment or introducing a new idea,